cannot get pregnant. I'm not going to say anything else until you watch the video. See it for yourself. Take a look.
Dr. Verma, I wasn't sure I understood your answer to Senator Moody a moment ago. Do you think that men can get pregnant?
I hesitated there because I wasn't sure where the conversation was going or what the goal was.
That's what will lose you an election. See, the GOP already got it plotted. They're going to air that all over the place. Senator Josh Hawley is going to be on Fox News and other platforms, Newsmax and everything else. They're going to play that. 77 million people voted for Donald Trump. 74 plus million for Kamala Harris. There's tens of millions of people out there. They're going to see that video. They're going to show it to them over and over. And they're going to say, that's the Dems. You have to immediately disassociate yourself from that rhetoric. I'm only talking about the rhetoric. I'm not talking about her as a person. I'm not talking about liberals who support transgender rights or anything. I'm not talking about
a 45-second clip viral and suddenly defined Democrats for months. Stephen A. Smith warns, stop stepping on rakes. Republican Josh Hawley asked OBGYN Dr. Nisha Verma a simple question. Can men get pregnant? Social media blew it up, and Democrats got roasted, showing how small moments can spiral into huge political headaches.
Because you got to see this. You got to see this. It just doesn't, I'm telling you, it doesn't look good for the Democrats if you allow yourself to be associated with this. This is the kind of stuff that will lose you elections. You got to see this to believe it. This, reading from USA Today, a Senate committee hearing about abortion medication has gone viral after Republican U.S. Senator Josh Hawley of Missouri and Ashley Moody of Florida asked an obstetrician gynecologist if men can get pregnant. Republican Senator Josh Hawley grilled Dr. Nisha Verma, an OBGYN, who refused to answer that very question. Can men get pregnant? Repeatedly, and I mean repeatedly.
This viral question wasn't innocent. It was a political trap meant to create a clip. Dr. Verma hesitated, trying to navigate nuance, respecting all identities. But voters don't grade nuance. They grade vibes. One wrong word, and it looks like dodging or denying biology. Stephen A. Smith points out the harsh truth. In politics, it doesn't matter if it's a trap. If it works, the public reacts.
Close-ended questions to be politically polarizing and danced around. I mean, the way she danced around these questions, ladies and gentlemen, you gotta see it to believe it. Later in the day, after this video I'm gonna show you, Hawley had posted the video on the social media site X, depicting his full exchange with Verma with the caption, spoiler alert, men cannot get pregnant. I'm not going to say anything else until you watch the video. See it for yourself. Take a look.
Dr. Verma, I wasn't sure I understood your answer to Senator Moody a moment ago. Do you think that men can get pregnant?
I hesitated there because I wasn't sure where the conversation was going or what the goal was. I mean, I do take care of patients with different identities. I take care of many women. I take care of people with different identities. And so that's where I paused. I think, I wasn't sure where you were going with.
Stephen A. isn't debating definitions. He's highlighting strategy. The GOP will weaponize clips like this, replaying them endlessly with ominous edits. Elections aren't just about policy, they're about trust. When a response looks evasive, it doesn't matter if it's fair. It erodes confidence, and the opposition can win simply by pointing and saying, see, this is what they're like.
Mind you testified to a moment ago. Science and evidence should control, not politics. So, can men get pregnant? You're a doctor, I think.
Science and evidence should guide medicine.
Do science and evidence tell us that men can get pregnant? Biological men, can they get pregnant?
I also think yes/no questions like this are a political tool.
No, yes/no questions are about the truth, doctor. Let's not make a mockery of this proceeding. This is about science and evidence, and I'm asking you, the United States Supreme Court just heard arguments yesterday at great length on this question. This is not a hypothetical question. This is not theoretical. It affects real people in their real lives. And you're here as an expert, called by the other side as an expert, and you've been telling us that you follow, right, you're a doctor, and you follow the science and the evidence. So I just want to know, based on the science science, can men get pregnant?
Stephen A's advice to Democrats is simple. Stop giving the GOP free ammo. Speak confidently when you have evidence, stay silent when you don't, and don't perform for the cameras. The Democratic coalition is huge and diverse. A strength, but also a vulnerability, because one viral clip can undo months of work.
As a Democratic Party, you cannot be associated with that. I'm talking about an unwillingness and an inability to answer the question. If you think men can get pregnant and you think you have scientific data to back that up, say so. If you don't have the scientific data to back it up, and you're purported to be a scientist, Dr. Nisha Verma, and the question is asked and you don't have proof to validate that men get pregnant, can men get pregnant, then the answer would be no. She refused to answer the question. That cannot happen.
Stephen A. criticizes Democratic leadership for tiptoeing around internal factions and overcomplicating issues, arguing that voters want straightforward human communication about real-life concerns like rent, jobs, and healthcare. While the GOP excels at turning complex issues into simple, sticky messages, Democrats often wrap them in abstract language and moral signaling, alienating everyday people.
Because, ladies and gentlemen, you need to understand, that's what will lose you an election. See, the GOP already got it plotted. They're going to air that all over the place. Senator Josh Hawley is going to be on Fox News and other platforms, Newsmax and everything else. They're going to play that. 77 million people voted for Donald Trump. 74 plus million for Kamala Harris. There's tens of millions of people out there. They're going to see that video. They're going to show it to them over and over. And they're going to say, that's the Dems. You have to immediately disassociate yourself from that rhetoric. I'm only talking about the rhetoric. I'm not talking about her as a person. I'm not talking about liberals who support transgender rights or anything. I'm not talking about...
Stephen A. argues that Democrats need to stop letting the opposition define them with viral clips. You can support trans rights while also answering clearly and directly, acknowledging biology without insulting anyone. Hesitating or overcomplicating makes you lose the clip war, which shapes the vibe war and ultimately influences elections.
It was embarrassing. It was embarrassing. And something like that, being associated with one side of the aisle, is detrimental to that side. I'm just giving you that perspective. That's the kind of stuff that will lose an election for you. Trust me on that. It will lose an election for you. When you've got Trump and the administration reeling because public opinion ain't on his side because of the way and the how in which they're doing certain things, causing chaos in the streets. One would easily argue that's what happened in 2020.
Stephen A. argues that when a party struggles to answer basic questions, people start doubting them on bigger issues like healthcare, taxes, or national security. Politics is built on trust, and trust is fragile. Democrats have real problems to focus on: cost of living, inflation, insurance, but instead often get dragged into symbolic battles that shift perception without changing policy.
No matter what they say, you still haven't finalized addressing the Affordable Care Act subsidies. Healthcare is still, price for healthcare is still expected to skyrocket. Price for insurance, price for products throughout this country. We're looking at inflationary times. The value of the dollar is dissipating before our very eyes. Things need to happen. Things need to get done. Everybody knows there's bigger fish to fry than issues like this. But when you are unwilling to say something so obvious, it speaks to trust or lack thereof. And as a result, because that's the reality, folks are going to lose faith in you, and they're going to say, we can't risk having that kind of nonsense.
The problem is that Democrats often struggle to answer questions in a way that's both clear and compassionate, and Republicans know exactly how to exploit that. Every time attention shifts to symbolic or gotcha questions like, can men get pregnant? Instead of real, everyday issues like rising grocery bills or inflation, Democrats lose credibility. The right doesn't even need to spin the story. They simply replay the clip, let voters fill in the blanks with their own frustrations or fears, and turn the moment into political judo, using their opponent's momentum against them.
If you embrace that kind of nonsense, where somebody is in front of the camera on Capitol Hill or a combination of both, and they can't acknowledge something that simple, you've already lost. Because Trump and the right are going to sit up there and say, is that what you want our country to become? Is that what you want our country to stand on? That's the reason I brought that up.
Now, some people might wonder, but the hearing was about abortion medication. Why does this even matter? Exactly. That's the point. It's a distraction technique. By shifting the frame and creating a cultural controversy, attention moves from the actual issue to debates over definitions and identity. Democrats keep falling into this trap because they try to be morally correct, socially safe, academically precise, and politically strategic all at once, which makes them sound like a malfunctioning GPS. In 300 feet, take a left turn, recalculating, make a U-turn, recalculating. Stephen A's advice is blunt but clear. Stop being afraid of clarity. He also argues that the party is letting a vocal minority dictate messaging, and whether you agree or not, the perception matters. When voters feel the loudest activists are running the show, they look for a calmer alternative, even if it's not perfect. This is the moderate and independent lane Stephen A keeps emphasizing. People who aren't entrenched in ideological battles, who just want less chaos, and who decided the 2020 election based on a desire for stability. He warns Democrats not to alienate these voters by appearing extreme, evasive, or disconnected. Fair or not, elections are often decided by tiny margins and vibes. One viral moment might not determine everything, but it can easily become the symbol voters carry into the booth.
George Floyd happened, and the racial reckoning that existed in this country was coming home. And all of those things happened. And you know what American voters said? You had Republicans with Trump wouldn't budge. You had liberals on the opposite side that was going to go with Biden, especially after Representative Clyburn got involved and threw his support behind Biden and got him to win South Carolina, and things took off from there. But the real reason Trump lost the election in 2020 is because you had independents out there, or moderates on the left or the right, that said, we don't need this kind of chaos, we don't need this kind of noise. And that is what has been being played very adroitly by the left over the last couple of months. You're gaining traction, you're gaining momentum. You can't have that.
The takeaway? If Democrats want to win, stop letting opponents choose the battlefield. Answer tricky questions clearly, pivot to real issues like healthcare or the economy, and speak plainly. Clarity shows respect. Don't treat viral clips as the story or perform for niche audiences. Focus on what voters care about, not culture war optics. Stephen A isn't saying Democrats can't win. He's saying they're making it harder by stepping on rakes and acting surprised. The real question, are voters swayed by clips, or is this a leadership problem? Prioritize governing over appeasing online factions.